Okay, welcome back, everyone. I am curious about how that game was for you. There is an actual deck of cards that these folks sell. The link is on my resources page, and they're pretty affordable, $10 or so. And I like, if you order some, I would suggest you order more than one set. So you could play, multiple people can play at one time. There's lots of different ways to play the game, but this was a great, this is a great one for the online version. So if you would like to share your top most important wishes, or your top most important ideals, or how the process was for you, or anything else, please unmute yourself and share.
Hey Lee, if you can hear me.
I can.
For me, the process itself gave me a lot to think about, because it's a what if this, what if that, what if this. But there was also some of it being interconnected in a way. Do I trust my doctor, or do I want to have a doctor that sees me as a whole person? So making some of those specific choices, not only what do I want, but how do I want that to be? So does it need to be a doctor? Does it need to be a death doula? Does it need to be a healthcare person? It helped to refine how I want my wishes to be specified. So.
Yeah, I really love that. That if you find there's a specific value that is in your very important list, then that might be some external tasks that you have to take on, right, in order to get that need met. So, we're going to go through the checklist, but that's something to add to your checklist. Like, wow, doing this game helped me realize that I need a healthcare provider that sees me as a whole person. Perfect example. And I currently don't have that, or I'm not happy with the person I have. So that's on my to-do list, is to interview healthcare providers, doctors, nurses, nurse practitioners, whatever. Like that's a goal for me. And I'm going to build a relationship for however long I have left in this life with a healthcare provider that I feel really good about. So good for you. Excellent. Anybody else? People are still munching.
Hello.
Yes.
I had more than 10 things that were very important to me. Is it limited to 10 items for a purpose, or?
Well, one of the ways to play this game, and it comes with the Go Wish instructions if you actually buy the deck, is to play it in a group. And so let's say 3 people are the red group, 3 people are the yellow group, and 3 people are the green group. And you read out different scenarios to each group. And in the first group, you say, okay, red group, you are in a car accident with your healthcare agent. Pick 3 of your very important values. You can only pick 3, right? The second group, okay, yellow group, your scenario is you are at advanced stage dementia. Pick 1 of your very important group, right? So the idea here is that we are likely not to get everything we want, because that's life, right? So when I played this game with my mom is Andrea, she's on this call. I played this game with my mom and suggested that she pick her top 4. And I was fairly surprised by her choices. Like, they weren't my choices, because everyone has different options, right? So I took a picture of her top 4 choices, and I suggested she say more about them, because if I were to be her healthcare agent, I wouldn't have known those were her choices, right? So I think it's tricky to have endless, very important, because life, yeah? Have as many as you want, but it might be wise to start to prioritize maybe top 5, something like that. Other thoughts? Okay. Let's go back to our wish 7. And someone asked a question, although I can't completely know who it was. Was it Frank Barrett person? I don't know who asked the question just now about this context in the top of page 6, which is, I don't want things administered to end my life. And the person said, I actually am feeling pretty strongly in general about compassionate euthanasia. And I don't know if I want to take the stand that I don't want anything administered to end my life. And I completely hear you. I completely feel you. And this is a complex topic. Yeah. If we had a death positive or death literate, death supportive culture, my belief system is that we would have options for ending our lives and assisting people to end their lives. That's my belief. Some other people believe that it's absolutely immoral and unethical to even consider such things. That is the law of our land. Yeah. That is the law of our United States, and I don't know what's happening in other countries, but and in some cases, some states have been loosening that. Portland, Oregon, I think, has compassionate euthanasia laws. And so what this means is, if someone is at an end stage, generally speaking, they need to be of sound mind. And they can choose to end their life, right? If they have a terminal. So there's a couple things that need to happen. They have to have a terminal diagnosis, they have to be of sound mind, and they have to be within somebody's assessment of X number of days or weeks until the end of their life, right? So this is a complicated topic, and you want to be very careful about enlisting other people to assist your dying, because they could go to jail for that, right? These are tricky. We do not have a death positive, death literate, death diverse culture. We have a very clear law about this. So I'm with you. I wish and hope that someday we get there. I think I need to share my screen in a different way. Hold on. I wish and hope that someday we will get to more options. And I am guessing, for the purposes of the 5 wishes, that you can cross that out and have private conversations with your people. One of the legal ways to do compassionate euthanasia is a process called voluntary stopping of eating and drinking. Has anybody heard of that? Voluntary stopping of eating and drinking. Okay, that is something that the person dying would do on their own, and they would have to enlist the people around them as well, because it has happened that family members will prescribe force feeding and force hydration in those situations. Yeah. So you'd have to get your people on board, but that is a beautiful, beautiful option. And after a couple of days, a lot of endorphins kick in, and it's a pretty, from what I understand, I don't have firsthand experience of this, but from what I understand, the voluntary stopping of eating and drinking is going with the natural flow of the body as it's dying, and it actually can be quite a beautiful process. from my understanding, without a lot of pain. Like once you stop the digestive system from engaging, even if you're in, you know, a sort of stage 4 cancer situation, the pain recedes. So check it out. There's a website, there's forums out there, there's Facebook groups. There's a lot of people who are excited about this as a very self-empowering choice. Is that helpful? It's a complicated topic, legal stuff is involved. Be mindful of who you engage. And at the same time, if you're clear with your healthcare agent, like, listen, prolonging stuff at the end is not my desire. You know, hospice is an interesting case, right? Many of us have been involved with hospice where they're very generous, let's say. They're very generous with morphine. And I think probably some of us have had the experience where you're not quite sure at the end whether the person died of the disease or of the morphine. And in some cases, that's a blessing, and hospice understands this. So it's from my perspective, it's a little bit of a workaround, and you know, it's legal because you're under hospice care. So yeah, dicey issues towards the end there. Okay, I think what we're gonna do right now is read page 7, and then we're gonna go into breakout rooms and talk about this. So Karen, would you be willing to read that top italicized sentence and then the close to death part?
Okay. Here is the kind of medical treatment that I want or don't want in the 4 situations listed below. I want my healthcare agent, my family, my doctors, and other healthcare providers, my friends, and all others to know these directions. Close to death. If my doctor and another healthcare professional both decide that I am likely to die within a short period of time, and life support treatment would only delay the moment of death, choose one of the following. I want to have life support treatment. I do not want life support treatment. If it has been started, I want it stopped. I want to have life support treatment if my doctor believes it could help, but I want my doctor to stop giving me life support treatment if it is not helping my health condition or symptoms.
Wonderful. So Frank Barrett and your lovely companion there, would you read the in a coma, one of you read in a coma, and the next one of you read permanent and severe brain damage?
In a coma and not expected to wake up or recover. If my doctor and another healthcare professional both decide that I am in a coma from which I am not expected to wake up or recover, and I have brain damage and life support treatment would only delay the moment of my death, choose one of the following. I want to have life support treatment. I do not want life support treatment. If it has been started, I want it stopped. I want to have life support treatment if my doctor believes it could help, but I want my doctor to stop giving me life support treatment if it is not helping my health condition or symptoms.
Permanent and severe brain damage and not expected to recover. If my doctor and another healthcare professional both decide that I have permanent and severe brain damage, for example, I can open my eyes, but I cannot speak or understand, and I am not expected to get better, and life support treatment would only delay the moment of my death, choose one of the following. I want to have life support treatment. I do not want life support treatment. If it has been started, I want it stopped. I want to have life support treatment if my doctor believes it could help, but I want my doctor to stop giving me life support treatment if it is not helping my health condition or symptoms.
Thank you so much. Okay, CL, would you read that last paragraph there, in another condition under which I do not wish to be kept alive?
If there is another condition under which I do not wish to have life support treatment, I describe it below. In this condition, I believe that the costs and burdens of life support treatment are too much and not worth the benefits to me. Therefore, in this condition, I do not want life support treatment. For example, you may write end stage condition. That means that your health has gotten worse. You are not able to take care of yourself in any way, mentally or physically. Life support treatment will not help you recover. Please leave the space blank if you have another condition to describe, have no other condition to describe.
Okay, thank you so much. So we're going to do a 10-minute breakout room, and Gwyneth, 2 people to a room, I think. So if you're already 2 people on a screen, we're going to leave you out of this breakout room because we're going to do it more quickly, so speak to each other. And then we're going to talk about, what do you think about this, right? You have your go wish. You can share your top very important. You can take a screenshot of this life prolonging measures. You can discuss potential different scenarios. So basically, you're going to be discussing wish 2 and what you think you might want. So Gwyneth, let me know what I can do to support you and when you might be ready.
Sure. I had us in groups of like 2 and 3, so it's going to take a moment to.
No, do it. Whatever you have set up is fine.
Okay.
It's just that we don't have, we have 10 minutes, so it's not a ton of time.
Yeah.
Okay,
I do at least all the groups of 2. I tried to make the people that are multiple people, so it should be just groups of 3. Hopefully, if I did everything right.
Okay.
And
chat us up if you feel like you really need more time in there. Chat us up, and we can leave you for a couple more minutes.
Yes, that would be good. We could also I'll just add one room to kind of like break things up a little bit. Okay.
Blessings to you and your magic
Thanks.
with the breakout rooms.
Sure. It'll be just a second.
And if the person who asked me the question about the compassionate euthanasia feels satisfied, great. If you don't, hit me up with a chat. We can talk more about it. Oh, Jennifer Leatherby says that some states are medically assisted death. Excellent. Good to know. Thank you, Jennifer. Montana, Colorado, California, Washington, Oregon. That's awesome. I love hearing that. Thank you. Excellent. You can move to one of those states, but I think you have to be a resident for 6 months before you're dying.
And you said 10 minutes, right?
Yes, please.
Okay, awesome. Okay, I think I have a few people who might want to be in breakout rooms but aren't yet. Can you just wave hello if you're one of those people?
I am already with Evalina.
Mm-hmm.
I just had my own screen, but
okay, I see.
so I don't need whatever.
Okay, that's fine.
I like this.
Right, okay, and Kevin, because we had the break, so I think maybe some people left.
Okay, so then I would have to be in a different place because we'll hear each other.
Yeah, you can just not join the room that you're in, or I can move you to the one with Evelyn.
We could confuse the system.
Yeah.
There we go. You should be in the right room now.
Goodness, I'm not in a room.
Well,
Right.
that's 4 of us. They'll
So I think you do need to go to your other.
Okay. All right.
Excuse me, but I'm having a hard time hearing. The volume seems to be very low and I can't seem to get it turned up. Is it possible for Lee to turn her volume up, or you, Gwyneth, to turn your volume up?
I don't think that is a volume function on our side. There is no like Zoom volume, so it's going to be mostly on your side. I wonder if you might have a headset or speakers you could plug in.
Yeah, I just tried my speaker too. I'll figure it out. Thanks.
Yeah, sorry we
I
can't
love
do
that
much.
we both say Lee Warren. I was like, Lee Warren is texting me.
I think I can rename you if you want. Or
No, because we're
maybe
both on
both
the
of
same
you.
Zoom account.
Right, okay. Yeah. I'm gonna jump in one of these and just see how it's going. If that's cool with you, Lee, if you're good. Okay, awesome.
Raise your hand if that felt like enough time to talk. And raise your hand if it felt like you needed more time. A little bit more time. Okay, good to know. We're still waiting on people to come back. There they come. Look at all your beautiful faces. Okay. I'd love to hear from you. What's up? What's up with this question? Benita!
Yeah, we had Anne Marie and Steve, I think it was, or Mike, I'm not sure your name, I'm sorry. We had a very lively conversation about like the third choice of close to death, permanent and severe brain damage and all that. And that's, you know, it's kind of like deferring to the doctor. And where I'm coming from, I'll just speak for myself, is that I prefer to be like with a team, to have a team. And instead of deferring to the doctor, having the doctor take responsibility for the final choice, to have the team confer with the doctor. If I'm in the hospital, my preference is to be at home. But if I'm there, to confer and then make an informed decision. And we were talking about how the two seem to be like polarized. And not necessarily, because there are people who may very likely prefer to have the doctor take the responsibility of that final decision. So yeah, so it was really very helpful engaging in this conversation because it brought me a lot of clarity, which I thank you for.
Really good. How many other people resonate with that, that the choices seem like mutually exclusive or something, that there's not a choice on there that's like, hey, y'all, figure out the best for everything. Best for me, best for everyone. Great. A good point, Benita. Thank you. Courtney.
So when my dad was dying, one of the things that I asked for, and he and I had talked about this, is that we requested, and he was in mission in Asheville, and we requested that a palliative care doctor be added to his medical team and be the head of his medical team. And so any of the specialist doctors went through him, and I found that not very many people know about that. And palliative care doctors practice medicine in an incredibly different way than specialists do. So the specialist, the heart specialist who had come in to report on his recovery of the heart surgery, said, yeah, he's doing fantastic. If only the wrapper around the heart would do its job, you know. And we're like, what? So so the palliative care doctor took a really different approach and said, the heart is not the issue, he's dying. And so let's look at what concerns that we have as a result, and what needs to happen next, and what the steps are. And they have a very much more holistic view of the medical specialties.
Right. Beautiful. Courtney, you have added so much. You have so much knowledge. So what you're saying is that palliative care people, and the word palliative, I believe, refers to pain management. Yeah. And they are trained.
It's really end of life care.
End of life.
So what their focus is Who is your healthcare agent? Do you have 5 wishes? What are they? Don't. Let's talk about. I know how to direct these specialists to either have more care or not have more care.
I love it.
The palliative means caregiving, the caregiving around the end.
So that's really good to know. And I did not have it that way in my mind, although I have a dear friend who is a nurse practitioner. Nurse practitioners are like one step away from being a doctor, and there's a whole school and philosophy around nurse practitioners. Anyway, she's a palliative specialist, and like I might make her my my doctor to sort of answer what Victoria was saying earlier of like finding a doctor that is not only seeing us as whole people, but who can have a grasp on what end of life looks like. And that's really great. So if you're looking for that kind of healthcare provider, maybe you start with folks who identify as palliative care specialists. So very good. Thank you, Courtney. That's really great. All right, there's some chats here. Hold on a second.
So I just put the definition in the chat, and if you'll notice what the goal of a palliative care doctor is to improve the quality of life for the patient and the family. And so most of the time at the end stages, improvement of life does not involve medical interventions. You know.
It's really good to know that there's a whole world of healthcare that's specializing in this. I'm copying these and pasting them where I can find them later. Thank you. Awesome, Courtney. We have a question from earlier that I'm curious about you all answering instead of me. So someone asked if I would choose differently if there is still a chance of recovery and life versus once we already know that I'm definitely dying. So how did you all think about this as you think about wish 2? What comes up for you? Would you choose differently? How are you going to convey that accurately? What is your thought process around that?
Well, it seems like wish 2 is written as in there's a slim to no chance of recovery. So when I read that, I'm like, well, this doesn't cover if I get in a car accident and my lungs collapse and they have to put me on life support, I get surgeries and I recover. It doesn't seem like it covers something of that nature where recovery is likely. So I didn't even consider life support when recovery is an option.
Awesome, thank you. Yeah, I mean, again, going back to the reality of the healthcare system, if you're a person that has otherwise a vibrant life, certainly if you're young, but generally speaking, any age, and you show up at the emergency room from an accident or injury, they don't ask really for your healthcare directives. They're just gonna fix you up, like whether you like it or not, unless your healthcare agent's standing there, you know, showing a piece of paper, like you're probably gonna get the full treatment. Because again, that's what they do. That's what they're good at. That's what happens when you show up at an emergency room. And those are the kinds of situations where if there's not a chance of recovery, then your healthcare agent can step in and say, listen, this person didn't want any of these interventions. We need to stop them. Or if the doctors are saying like, yes, but these things are temporary, this person has a really strong chance of recovery. These are like the endless amount of variables that any one of us could be in at any time. So I think one of those pieces, to answer the person who asked the question, like, if that's a really important thing for you, like, where's that line? Will I recover? Will I not? I would suggest you write it in or add it to your addendum. So let's actually, if there's maybe like one last thought or question or share, and we can move to the addendum. Okay, we'll move to the addendum. Okay, Vincent van Gogh said, what a simple thing a death is, just as simple as the falling of an autumn leaf.
Mm.
So I have an addendum to my 5 wishes, which you all are welcome to steal any part of it for your own addendum that you would like. And the reason that I created an addendum to the 5 wishes is probably much of what you're finding, which it doesn't exactly, some of the pieces don't exactly say what's true for me, right? And we can just be, you know, celebratory that this template exists for people who are only going to do the basic. So grateful that the 5 wishes template exists. And I wanted a level of nuance because I think about this stuff and because I care about this stuff. So I wanted a level of nuance around this that would only be helpful if I added on an addendum. So I have a 5-page addendum, and it is available on my resource page, and you can, it's in Word, I think it's in a Google Doc and in Word. So you're welcome to copy the whole thing, paste it over to your own document, Google Doc or Word document, and change, you know, delete stuff, add stuff, change stuff, just use, and then like, just use this as a starting point. Has anybody had a chance to look at this addendum? You want to look, you want to say something about it, Andrea?
As you know, we did this together back a while ago. I have mine. I have it in a Google document shared with you. I have to update it because now Tom is in my life. And so I have to update that. But it's pretty detailed. And this is the first time Tom is seeing it. And I really need to have him look at mine completely and share it with him, and then he can do his. But it's a tool for him to use as his Bible when I'm dying.
Yeah, very good. So the kinds of things I have in my addendum for wish 1 is the first bullet is, as much as possible for the healthcare agent to rely on groupthink, collaborative support, and the collective wisdom of the death care agent team established at my community. And I name those people. And Ruth Estranga from the Center for End of Life Transitions. These caring and death literate folks share my values as much as anyone about conscious dying, appropriate action, and loving death. And then the second one under wish 1 is, in addition, use any means deemed necessary to help with decisions about my care, including seeking advice from alternative sources. And later on, well, I'll go ahead and read you what I have for wish 2. Wish 2, I have, these are additional, addendum means additional pieces. So I wish to be placed in hospice care as soon as possible to care for my medical needs. If possible, I wish to have non-pharmacological attempts at pain control before or in addition to medications, guided imagery, music, spiritual readings, co-meditation, and these days, marijuana, like most of our states, are medical marijuana, right? Which is an amazing mediator of pain. Even if I am unresponsive, I believe that I will be able to hear this guidance. Please do not assume that I am in pain. Administer pain medication if I show signs of pain. Regarding hallucinations, I believe hallucinations are a natural event before death, and I do not want these treated with medication. What someone may describe as depression might be me going inward to focus on my spiritual being. If it appears that I am suffering from depression, I am not opposed to a small amount of anti-anxiety medication if their other measures are not working. So just to say a little bit about pain, this is another complex topic. And if we had more death literacy, we would have thousands of opinions about this topic, all of which would be valuable to some extent. In the resources webpage, there's a link to a podcast from Radiolab. Radiolab is sort of a fun science podcast. And they report on this survey that was given to doctors. And it's something like 9 out of 10 doctors. So 9 out of 10 doctors that took this survey said, do not do anything, any life prolonging measures. The only thing I want you to do is pain medication. These are doctors. These are people who work with this, who see what happens with these life support measures. I'm not suggesting that there's a better or a best or a right or a wrong or a good or a bad way to make these choices. It's just an interesting bit of information that the people who administer these kinds of things don't want them for themselves. Just an important thing to note. Another thing I will say about pain is something that's opened my eyes to pain management is Stephen Jenkinson's perspective. Stephen Jenkinson wrote a book called Die Wise, and he's featured in a film called Grief Walker. And he's a Canadian, I'm pretty sure he's Canadian, and he's pretty charismatic, and he's doing this work a long time, and he speaks to large audiences. He came to Asheville, if any of you were there a couple years ago. And he feels, it's a pretty radical perspective, he feels that pain is an important part of the process of our dying, and it has gifts for us. I can't completely speak to his perspective, but he is an advocate for less medication rather than more. Hospice's perspective on pain is very clear. Their perspective on pain is you get the pain meds up to a point where there is no breakthrough pain ever, and you keep it at that point. And at any point where there is breakthrough pain, you up the medication to the next level and you keep it at that level. So their whole goal is to usher people out of life pain-free. And there's a lot of advantages to all of these perspectives. And so because we don't have a ton of access to sort of the commons, the intellectual commons about people trying these different things, I don't have much to offer. If anybody here has an experience of being with a death where the person has used minimal pain medications, please speak up, because we'd love to hear about that. And for me, I want to personally balance, because part of what happens when you're on oxycodone or on morphine is that you're in another world, right? And so I am hoping, I mean, it sort of depends on what kind of pain there is. I am hoping that I can balance pain management with being present in my life, in my death, in my process. And that is going to be so unique and personal and individual in this situation. But I'd love to hear from any of you if you have thoughts about pain or pain management. Courtney, go for it.
So I am not able to have pain management much. I'm allergic to I have a serum allergy to all of the cane drugs. So and even the ones like oxycodone and things like that that are not a cane drug, I don't do well with those either. So they make me feel really horrible. So I have never had very many pain options in my whole life. And I have developed this tremendous ability to manage surgical pain. I've had 2 surgeries, and using a lot of other different kinds of things. I used to be a music therapist, so I use music a lot, guided imagery, meditation, pain meditations and other natural things like magnesium. After surgery, I always get magnesium. I request that they inject magnesium into my IV for me, so that, because that's a pain reliever. So there's a lot of things. If you think that that is something that you'd like to get more information about, there's a ton of it out there.
Oh my gosh, thank you so much. You just reminded me of another resource. I don't know if I have this listed on the website, but Norman Doidge wrote a couple of books, and one of his books is called The Brain's Way of Healing. And like mind-blowing stuff about the brain and pain. One example is people with crippling arthritis can put their hand in a box of mirrors. There's this little mirrored box that makes their fingers look longer and straighter. And literally in the moment that their eyes are watching that happen to their hand, their pain reduces. Like literally, like the limbic system has it in a certain way, and we can affect that stuff with all kinds of stuff, hypnosis, what Courtney's talking about, meditation, music. Check it out. If you feel like you want to manage pain in creative ways, like she said, there's lots of really mind-blowing resources out there. Okay, anything else about the addendum? Like what I did is I just pulled up a Word document. I put 5 Wishes addendum at the top. I put the date. I put the date I updated it. I ended up getting it notarized along with my 5 Wishes. We're going to talk about notary and stuff later. But any other questions about the addendum? Hika, did you have, oh, you lowered your hand. Okay.
Thank you. Yeah, I had something because it popped in my head. To me, it's a normal thing, but you know, when it comes to language barriers, because my whole family speaks German, they don't really speak English. And here I am dealing with English speaking folks. So to bring those two worlds together and understand my wishes, I would have to have someone who can translate or is using both languages to help the process.
I love that. Yeah. So what you'd want to put in your addendum, and maybe even write it in on the 5 Wishes booklet, is you know, the name and number of your name, number, and email address of your translator. Get that ahead of time so you can put something like that on your checklist. That's really great. Any other addendum suggestions or ideas? Any other thoughts you have going on in your mind of what you might want to put in your addendum that's not already here, that you might help inform some other folks?
I've got something, Lee. Just when my mother was dying of cancer, she was experiencing a really acute and intense anxiety, and so just that's another kind of just thing to keep in mind in terms of pain and hallucinations and the possibility of, you know, what kind of symptoms can come up that for people to look at. I mean, it was painful to see her in so much emotional distress. And so, yeah.
Did she suffer from anxiety in her life, or was this like sort of a dying onset process?
I mean, she always had some degree of anxiety, but I mean, it was death anxiety. Yeah. And so, yeah.
Yeah, really good, right? It's another reason to prepare internally, right? But if someone hasn't, yeah, what are anxiety options? Really great question. Right. Really great question. Again, you know, marijuana, like, I don't think North Carolina has, is it medically legal in North Carolina now?
No.
Not yet. Okay. Probably soon. Probably soon. Really amazing
that for
plant.
a moment, Lee?
Please.
There are some CBD strains that are really great for pain, anxiety, insomnia, and these are things that come up for a lot of people, you know, when they're dying. And there's particular strains for that, and you can choose like a ratio of the CBD to the THC of how altering it is. And there's and so that is a nice way of being able to smooth out the edges without you know, putting somebody on so much morphine. You can reduce the level of morphine that you use when you use these other herbal supports. There's also wild lettuce, which is a known wild plant that is got morphine benefits to it. So it's a great alternative to morphine. And what I saw a lot with people that are dying is that they got over medicated by family members because it was the family member that was having a hard time with the dying process of their loved one. And it made it easier for the family member to keep them more drugged. And so, and I saw a lot of people who were actually dying that tried to resist getting so much morphine. So these other herbal, options are a really nice way to be able to help smooth all of it out, including the anxiety, without having to use so much morphine.
Love it. Yeah. Valuable. Thank you, Mary. So we're coming into our last 40 minutes together. It's such a beautiful time. Didn't it go by faster than you imagined? It did for me. I want to introduce you to this checklist, but before I do, I want you to think about a buddy, right? So Gwyneth is going to need some time to do a breakout group. And so what I want you to do is get a buddy, and if you don't have someone in mind, Gwyneth will just pair you with someone, and that will be the perfect person, I'm sure. If you're two people to a screen, you're going to be each other's buddies, unless you have some reason why that doesn't make sense, and let us know. So if you already know who you want your buddy to be, could you chat that to Gwyneth? And as I'm talking about this, you can think about it, and if you don't know, you'll be paired with someone. And the reason I really love the buddy system is because we can be out of sight, out of mind with this end of life paperwork. Like right this minute, we're so present and often riveted to these conversations because they're so heartful and important. And some of us more than others are procrastinators, or there's hurdles to get over to get to the next step of these things. So the buddy system I have found is sort of the best method of loving support and accountability, which is we are each going to determine. So this end of life checklist, hopefully you've printed it out or you have access to it online on your Word document or Word or Google Docs. And so there's lots of things to do here, right? And you may be adding things to do, which is a translator or get myself a palliative care doc. And so this is this is going to be the thing that you follow. So you're going to start to fill in what date you want to complete it by, and make some notes there. So what's your ideal date? And it's completely up to you. If you want to put to the end, December 31st, 2021 is your date, that's fine. You know best what your schedule is looking like, what's in front of you, but if you could put a date in there, a realistic date for yourself to have these things completed and any notes. And then when you go into the breakout room with your buddy, I want you to share, you know, what you've committed to for yourself and what kind of support you think you might want from them. And you're there to help each other, right? And talk about any of stumbling blocks. Like, do you think that discussing this with important people in your life is going to be a stumbling block? And if that feels huge and you know you're going to avoid it, then what are some subtasks to that? Like, I really think I want to have a session with Lee or with a death doula to talk through all of my fears about talking to my kids about this, or my parents about this, or my spouse about this. And so that's like a subtask that you can do to sort of take little steps towards something that feels too big and too scary or too overwhelming. So Gwyneth, check in with me. How are you feeling about the puzzle, the even more complex puzzle right now?
We're working it out.
Okay.
It's just gonna take a minute. Also, I just wanted to clarify, for day 2, are those breakout rooms gonna be with the buddy as well? So you kind of choosing your buddy for the next day?
I think we should stay with our buddies, or have the option to stay with our buddies in next week. I think that's a good idea.
Okay. And Kevin, it says that you're leaving now. Do you want to be paired with a buddy now, or just kind of see what happens? I'll just leave Kevin in his own group for now. Okay. Thanks for being with us. All right. Thanks, Lee, for making time for this.
Bye,
Still got a little bit
Kevin.
more to do.
Blessings. So good to see you. And yeah, see you next week. Stay as long as you can. Great. So really sit with your checklist, really contemplate your dates and your preferred methods of accountability. Like for me, you know, setting a date for someone to send me a email reminder or a phone call, or a phone date where I can talk through like what's in the way for me, what's in the way of me getting to the next step with some of these things, because sometimes we just need to talk that through. So is our buddy willing for that? And yeah. So compassionate support and accountability, with the goal being to support the person, to support ourselves, getting these documents done in a style and a pace and a flow that feels right for us. While we're all still here, any questions on this to-do checklist? Give a little love. Let's give a little love to Gwyneth and all her magic. We love you, Gwyneth. Thank you. Maya Joelle is sharing space, right? Butter process. Okay, excellent.
This is Tom Crepsio.
Tom.
I'll put it in the chat, but I keep thinking there's a podcast. I don't know if you've heard of it. It's called Griefcast.
No.
It's out of the UK, and it's actually she's actually an improvisational comedian, but she lost her father when she was 15, and so she does this podcast where she interviews people. They're all about an hour long, but they're like 126 of them. They're kind of amazing. The tone is very gentle, but it deals with a lot of, and it deals with parents and siblings and children and pets and everything like that. It doesn't get into living wills and things like that too much, although there is at least one with a death doula. So I'll put the link in the chat room, and I would highly recommend it.
Thank you. Yeah, as much as we can infuse ourselves with death conversations,
Yeah.
you know, from all angles, it's counteracting this amnesia we seem to have about the fact
Right.
that we're all going to die.
Oh yeah, I mean that's, I think, a big part of it is just that fear of talking about it before, you know, well before, during, and after. You know, that's all stages.
Right. It's humanizing it, and in humanizing it, we make it sacred, right? It's this sort of duality that comes together where everything is possible.
All right. Well, thank you.
Thank you, Tom.
Okay, I think I've got everything sorted out. We have one group of 3 that I think requested to be a group of 3.
Okay, great.
So
if you're not in the right group, just pop back
Yeah.
out and we'll be here and we can reroute
Yep.
you. Thank you.
And I
for
left
your
an extra empty room if we need to just shuffle things around. But I
Okay.
think we've got it now.
All right, y'all. Go be
All right.
buddies.
Oh, and how long did you want to do this breakout room for? That's an important part.
10 minutes.
10. Okay, awesome. Thank you for making the time and space. Okay.
Awesome. Great.
Pretty
Good
good.
job.
Right,
That was some miracle working, my dear.
Yeah, and I'm paired up with Jennifer because of the doula similarity. So if
Go
you're
for
all,
it.
I was gonna just chat with her for a minute.
Go for it.
But if you
Can
need
we
me,
just do this and me not answer this, join a room? I already.
let's
You
see which one.
can you be each other's buddies? You and Maya
That's
Joelle?
what we planned.
That's what we, yeah.
Yeah.
That's it.
Let's see. I think then that means that we might have an extra person, but I can.
Can you put us with Benita? She's probably already with someone.
Yeah. Is the Maya Joelle? Is that you? That's you. Okay, I put you all in a group with each other. So you're both on here separately, but I put you in a room. So you are together already. You can join together and you'll just be on each other's screens.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure.
But did you
Well,
want to be
yours
with
says room
Benita?
3 and mine says room 6. I'd love to be
No,
with
no,
Benita.
it says 6. I mean, 6.
Okay.
You're both in 6? Okay.
Thanks.
Sure. All right. I think we're good. I'm going to go join in my room.
So welcome back. I think everybody's getting catapulted. That's what it feels like, catapulted back. Did you need more time for that? Or was that enough time? It was okay? Okay. Anyone want to share like how you're feeling about the buddy process, how you're feeling about your dates to complete things? How's the checklist for you? Any thoughts?
Personally, I'm feeling great about my buddy.
Excellent.
It's just, I need someone with experience because I'm like lost. I just feel really lost looking at all this. So I think that it'll be a great help to have a buddy.
Yeah. Right. So thanks for saying that, April. And here's the last slide, and then I'll take it off the slide so we can see each other again. These are some suggested things to take away, which is talk to your family and talk to your possible healthcare agents. They may not be the same people, right? Or at least start to think about talking to those folks. To really contemplate wish 1 and wish 2. To make a little list for yourself of stuff you're excited to read, to research, to listen to gather info about. And if possible, try to get with your buddy this week. You know, a little touch base by phone or video. How is that level of assignment feeling for folks? And do folks have other ideas about what they're going to do that might be different from that? You can just unmute yourself and talk if you want to share.
Oh, that seems doable. This is Susanna. Yeah, I mean, I feel like it is. And I just want to say I really appreciate this very, very much. So thank you.
Yeah, the whole list, I mean, everything that we're looking at is daunting, but breaking it up into pieces like this and also having somebody to be accountable with, I see that I'll wind up okay. It'll be
Are
all
other people resonating with that? It feels daunting. Raise your hand if it feels daunting. Got a lot of hands there. Yeah, I hear you. I hear you. And I think the question for me is, how do we make it fun, right? How do we make it like not laborious and not tedious and not like, oh, I gotta climb this mountain to fill out this paperwork. You know, and one of the ways I think we can do that is throw the death dessert party. I mean, you know, all kinds of fun stuff that we can do and be like, I need to do my paperwork. I need to have more conversations about this. Will you come over? I'm serving chocolate cake and death. That's what's happening tonight. Other thoughts about this end of life checklist? Where do folks feel stuck? We have 15 minutes to talk about where folks are feeling and where they're feeling stuck and questions. So bring it. Karen, please.
Yeah, I have a question. One thing that's been challenging for me, looking at the wishes, especially, is just the idea that like there's so many different situations and factors that I could potentially find myself in. It's hard to make any clear decisions. And one thing specifically that I wanted to ask was, there was a gentleman, after we came back from Wish 2, there was a gentleman that said, well, you know, that said he saw the Wish 2 or even the whole 5 wishes being kind of like the end game. Like, you know, you're definitely not coming back from this. You're terminal in one way or the other. And So I just wanted clarity on, is that the case, that that's what our 5 wishes are for, like the end game, or is it like, could it be just something different where like I got into a car accident and that kind of thing?
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. I'm sure other people resonate with like, oh, so many possible scenarios. How many people resonate with the overwhelm of how many possible scenarios? Yeah. So thank you for speaking to that, Karen. So I believe what Chris was saying earlier was in response to my question of what do you do if you have a chance of surviving, right? And Chris was like, well, the 5 wishes are really, so if I'm conscious, like if I'm conscious and capable of making these decisions myself, like the 5 wishes don't come into play, right? Unless I'm really compromised and out of it in shock and trauma, whatever, I might actually want to call my healthcare agent, even if I'm not in danger of dying, to advocate for me, right? To have an advocate. Like, hey, I don't want them to do crazy stuff that I'm not in my right mind to be able to decide. But I think what Chris was saying, and I agree, is this idea that, I mean, there are circumstances where that you would show up to a healthcare institution unconscious, right? Like car accident is a sort of iconic example, right? You're in a car accident, you've had a concussion, you go to the hospital, you're not conscious. And so there's a different set of detailed considerations for your loved ones to make if the doctor, if the providers are saying, this person has every chance of being fine, we just need to do a little surgery or a big surgery or these things. I mean, most people would say, okay, yeah, please do it, like whatever intervention. But I do think those are really interesting and important questions for us personally. Like, what percentage chance of surviving do we want intervention versus not? And on some level, I think we have to even surrender in this process to not knowing. And what I put in one part of my addendum, which is, if you're my healthcare agent, team, or even a solo, you are doing your best. Whatever decisions you make, I trust you. And if it results in me living or dying or be dependent on machines, like, we're just going to do our best, right? In the birth world, they talk about making a birth plan, right? But they also significantly talk about like throwing the birth plan completely out the window if it's not going the way that you wanted it to go. Like, we have to hold it lightly. So I believe this is where it comes to like each of our spirituality to say, I'm going to do my best to plan for the most extreme or the most inevitable, or the things I really care about, and then I'm going to have to just surrender the rest of it to the goodness of whoever's there in the moment. Because isn't that what life is, right? There's a level of surrendering we have to do to the inevitable, to fate, to chance, to karma, however you think about it, however you believe. Is that hopeful? Vague?
I know for me,
please,
just to add that I like things to be perfect a lot, even though I'm working on things not being perfect, but that it helps to think that it can be just like a first draft, or that having something is better than having nothing at all, even if you can't plan for every single contingency. And that also, like when you're looking at the checklist and all the things that need to happen, was helpful for me to kind of just get rolling, is that you don't have to do everything all at once, and it doesn't all have to be exactly right. It just has to be something.
Anybody else have an answer to that question?
I'll clarify that I think like a real clear question for me is that this has brought up, because clearly this document and this workshop is very specific for, like, we're definitely in the dying process. we're definitely not coming back from where we're at. But my question would be, if this has made me realize that I want to create a document for healthcare directives, if there's a chance that I am going to survive or recover, you know, from whatever accident or disease, and I'm not capable of making the decisions, is that something that I could just write up a document, and if it's signed by a notary, that would also be honored by like the same team of people?
I would say stick it in your addendum. Absolutely. It's appropriate, right? It's appropriate under wish 1 and wish 2. Absolutely.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
Thanks.
So here's a question.
I'd
CL,
like to
yes.
add something.
Go ahead.
Sorry. So I had an experience. I about 10 years ago, I decided I wanted to go ahead and fill out a DNR and have it notarized and everything. And at that time, I went to an attorney to have it done, and it was kind of a boilerplate contract, and it really didn't specify any of this. It was basically me saying, I don't want to be on life support if I'm unconscious. And so I really appreciate this process, because it really does give us so many more options and questions to think about this in terms of, you know, what, like this case scenario could happen or that case scenario can happen, and what do we want to do? And I think it's really up to us what we ask for, you know, and that's, we just think about this, we write this down, we make the list. And so I think we can have really, we can ask for anything we want, really. You know, there's no limit.
We can ask for anything we want, and guess what we're going to get? We're going to get what we get.
Yeah, I mean, if we have it, that's where the advocate comes in. That's where the, you know, our friends come in, our healthcare team to advocate for us to do the right thing, you know. And it's so important, because if we don't have that, we don't have any choices.
I mean, ideally, just like birth, ideally the plan will be enacted. Ideally, that's what will happen. And, you know,
I guess
part of
my point, Lee, is I'm just saying that we're not going to get anything if we don't ask for it. So
absolutely. No, I'm absolutely true. Like, absolutely. So it's like, in one hand, we hold our ideal, and in the other hand, we hold surrender to what happens. It's just what life is. So thank you, Ciel, for that. And the DNR, we're going to talk more about that next week, because it's important potentially to have a DNR in addition to the 5 wishes, right? So there's a lot to say about the DNR, the do not resuscitate, and redundancy in paperwork is a good thing. Let's see, someone asked, did Lee's addendum regarding her death agent team replace wish 1, healthcare agents 1, 2, 3, or was it in addition? So I have my death team as my choice number 1. I think my mom is choice number 2, and then another friend is choice number 3. And the reason I listed it that way is so they could see who's my top people to be in on the process, right? Let's see, what else? Recording. The recording is coming to my computer, and I'll do my best to upload it on the resource page and send you all an email when it's there. Yeah.
And I have a question, Lee.
Please, love.
Okay, so yeah, with the death team now, do you write down each member, all the members of your death team, or do you have like the head of the death team?
I have one member of the death team who's willing to be the legal, you know, stopgap, and behind her is the rest of the people supporting her. But should the rubber meet the road, that person's on the hook with the doctors, with, you know, the I am authorized to turn off these machines kind of rubber meets the road.
Unless that person becomes incapacitated or dies, then it's your number 2 death team member.
Yep.
Okay. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. And that's, I mean, if you have a death team, you could just do, like, say there's 5 people in your death team. You could do one of them is number 1, one of them is number 2, and one of them is number 3. And that way it all represents the same group of people.
Okay, great.
Yeah. So
Thank
do you all have you all exchanged information with your buddies about how to reach each other this week? One of the things that people often want is to get everybody else's email address. And I was going to send a group email with everybody's email address so you can reach each other. If you don't want your email to be on that email, let me know. And then otherwise, I'll go ahead and give you all contact information for each other. What else? Last thoughts, last questions, last checkouts. Anybody, just however you want to comment.
Thank you. Very valuable. I'm so glad I finally made it here.
Mary.
Thank
you very much.
Thank you so much. I so appreciate it. And I'm doing this process with some students of mine. And I just wanted to say one thing that came up for me in looking at the 5 wishes, which is really interesting, is that being single with no children, I had to look at the part about life support and being resuscitated, and in the terms of, is there anybody that I have on the other end if I do survive this and I'm an invalid to care for me? And that had to play a role in my choice around all of that, which is kind of an interesting thing to have to look at. You know, do we have people on the other side to take care of us long term if, you know, we're in that kind of situation?
I really love that, Mary. I'm going to incorporate that as a question or maybe in the addendum, because, you know, I probably, you all may know more than me, but probably how it works is if some person without family ends up in the hospital, survives, but is no longer able to care for them, I would guess they would go to a state-assisted nursing home.
Right. And so I would rather have them pull the plug on me than to be invalid and not have anyone that really I want to call upon to care for me.
Yeah.
It's a very confronting question to ask yourself.
Great. Thank you for doing it, and thank you for modeling it for us, because that's the kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But
thank you for this. This is really, really valuable. Thank you.
Andrea.
Just another thought. Sometimes there's no plug to pull. Somebody can be very, very sick. You think they're dying, but they aren't. And they recover handicapped and needing assistance. And that's another choice altogether. So that's something else to think about. Not necessarily dying, but then what?
Yeah.
You know? So just a
Thank
thought.
you. Yeah, no, good stuff. Good stuff. All right. Blessings, everyone. I will see you in a week. We'll send out another link for you and the recording in the meantime. It's such a delight to be with you all. And this is such a delightful topic for me. So thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Thank you, Lee. It's been great. It's great having the conversations.